Welcome to the Trek Wars podcast, the internet's exclusive outlet for trying to answer the one question, the most important question in fandom: which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars? And we're going through both franchises in chronological release order. Today is certainly no exception, Aspen. Aspen, yeah. I know that you were hoping that today would be an exception.
I always think that perhaps today's the day that we finally start comparing Xena to Hercules. But it's not. It's not. It's what we always do.
It's a different kind of legendary journey that we trek on. Speaking of Trek, I am Kenny Madison of the Star Trek contingent, and with me, as per always, is...
It's me, Aspen Webster.
And hold on. Do you
Wait,
hear
a
that?
star... What? What?
Do you hear that in the distance?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh no, that droid just got shot down.
Oh no. Kenny, we got ourselves a Western.
We're down to have a rootin' tootin' time here as we review Downfall of a Droid from Star Wars The Clone Wars, first aired November 7th, 2008, versus Spectre of the Gun, first aired October 25th, 1968.
Oh, Kenny, Kendall, my dear friend.
Yes.
I did not know it was going to be a Western, and I was excited, and it was great.
Would you say that you were hooting and hollering and doing all kinds of shenanigans?
I was square dancing down by the lake where the cows drink, and I was churning butter, and I was thinking about how does the system of law enforcement work in Old West America.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that I did not dig further into the legend of the gunfight at the OK Corral. I just am grabbing what I've got from... Oh, thank goodness.
I was about to come in and be like, I totally forgot to watch my Filoni Zone and do any research on Clone Wars, but I gotta tell you, I 100% went down that Wikipedia rabbit hole of the OK Corral shootout.
Excellent. Wonderful. I'm glad because I did go down the Filoni Zone. What was surprising is that I did not expect an episode that was dealing with Anakin Skywalker's attachment disorder.
Oh my God, my dude. You know what's really good? We'll get into this.
Yeah, Star Wars The Clone Wars.
It's so good. And I appreciate a Star Trek episode that's old Western themed, surrealist old Western theme, compared to Star Wars, which to me is just Western in space.
Is it a Western in space?
Yes. That's
Why?
the end. Why? What are you talking about?
Why?
It's
Why
it's a space Western.
Right, but why is it a space Western?
Well, I guess Clone Wars... Okay, you make me explain myself.
No, I'm not.
Kenny,
believe you me,
I can't believe you're questioning me.
I think the label is apt. I think it's appropriate. I'm just wondering, what are...
You don't trust me, I get it.
Yeah. I don't trust you to talk. I don't want it.
No.
I'll have none of it.
No.
I guess vigilante justice go hand in hand with what we ascribe to the Western genre as a whole. That's one of those stereotypes.
You know, for what it's worth, I think a lot of space opera, space Western, a lot of, it's vigilante justice, but it's a lot of sort of, I think we see it with like Outer Rim planets. There's a lot of what's the lawlessness of the place, or, you know, that there might be a center, a legal center, but there's sort of the vastness of space, and who knows what might be going on out there. And some places have syndicates that are actually in charge of it, and the gangsters, they, I guess, effectively, the kind of like, it's not just I think that's why, like, the imagery of Tatooine is like that kind of desolate desert is very evocative of it. But then you have certain characters, like you've got a Han Solo that's kind of a rogue, who I feel like is a very Western type persona.
He's got a vest and a gun.
He's got a gun.
Happy.
He's he's kind of like a devil may care type of character with with the rogue with the heart of gold, which kind of is a cross genre, but I feel like you see a lot in Westerns. But I do think you're right that like Star Wars, because it is deeply fleshed out, has different levels of, I feel like in different ways, it can be reflective of.
Well, I didn't watch all 20 seasons of Gunsmoke. I have a sneaky suspicion that Gunsmoke did not interrogate the larger political spectrum the way that Star Wars has in chronicling the rise and fall and rise of fascism.
Kenny, can we just pause?
Okay.
And let's just like think back a year ago. Not really pause. Just like emotionally pause.
I already put it in the footnotes. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Take it out of the footnotes.
I can't take it out of the footnotes. It's already in the footnotes. There's no delete button.
Okay. There's no delete button on the computer.
None.
Let's just pause and think about your perspective on Star Wars just a year ago. Would you have said the sentence you just said then?
Yes.
Oh, shit. I hope I had brought you to a place of true understanding.
No, because it was The Last Jedi that helped everything click into place, because it bothered to... I mean, I'd see the arguments that Lucas was exercising, circle theory. And I mean, he said it. It's like poetry. It rhymes. And so all of these things structurally within the prequels are just like repeating, which has the...
Oh, right.
He's doing it because it will make fans excited to see the thing that they recognize. And also he's looking at repeating loops and how you have to break the loops. And then in The Last Jedi, it was the first one to textually say, this stuff keeps happening.
And we did talk a lot about it with like the fall, the monomyth, the Jesse Gender 6-hour video that really talks about that, and that kind of meta conversation around actually keeping the perpetuation of like the kind of corporate fascism alive by like the repetition of the thing. I just was like, man, as the Star Wars contingent, I was like, man, Kenny's sounds like he's on my side.
Here's where you have changed me.
I've changed
A deeper friendship.
Oh my God, look at us. Look at us.
B, awakening my eyes to the political intricacies of what is in the textual script of the 3 prequels that I guess was also explained by Filoni and expanded on, because it's there. You just really, really have to look for it and completely divorce the direction and the acting from the script.
What else do we have to do?
It's there. It's truly there. That's not like Star Wars fan theories, which make no mistake. Every single fan theory is terrible, including anything that I say.
And me too. Biggest fan theory? Anakin Skywalker, secret hut. I would say there's so much evidence for that.
How have I changed you with Star Trek, though?
I like it a lot more than I used to. Nope, that's not true. I've always liked Star Trek, but I feel like I respect it a heck of a lot more. Is that true? I think that you have deepened my appreciation of it pretty sincerely. I think that is very true. Getting to like really talk about it, frankly, being able to contextualize it, like the reminder of contextualization, I feel like is very important for me. I'd seen something very recently about, something being, we were just talking about this in the Patreon, like this Doctor Who episode.
Which is just at patreon.com/TrekWarsPod. Join the Patreon for $5 a month.
Someone talking about that most recent episode, Dot and Bubble, as being probably feeling, because it dealt in race, we were just talking about being as kind of forward as Star Trek happening in the 60s for the first time. And it was just a reminder to me that I was just like, yeah, I might sit here and be like, I'm grumpy at the writing of these women, or how clunky this is, but like how McCunky this is. But
McCunky.
But truly for 67, 68, like so much of it, holy shit. And it is I think there is a lot of like being present with that context, I think is super important.
You can simultaneously marvel at the things that they were able to get on TV and at the same time demand that they should have done better.
Yeah. You've also given me the freedom to say, I know this is a good episode, but if I'm mad at it, so I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah. All of this is subjective, objective criticism of art. I'm not for it. I'm sure that there's someone out there who will be able to give a good argument for it, but like every single one of us is people. And so if you are just kind of being like, let's look at this performance objectively, is it good?
Oh.
But even that objective criticism that you are assigning to it is still at the whims of socialized acceptance.
Oh yes.
John Travolta's terrible performance in Battlefield Earth might have been good on the set. Who knows?
Might have been good to a Scientologist.
Who knows?
Can you imagine someone who's like deeply Scientologist is like watching and they're like, an extraordinary performance.
Oh my God.
Bringing the words to life. Hubbard would be so proud.
Speaking of appreciating context, why don't we give some context for folks that didn't necessarily watch these episodes?
What are you doing?
We're playing the home game right now.
What are they doing?
We're playing the home game right now.
No, what are they doing? Why aren't they watching?
Taking care of their kids, washing dishes, taking out the garbage, trying to connect with their bodies, connect with their emotional state. And maybe they're on their walk right now. And
cut it all off. Eat bad, watch Star Wars.
Gotta write that down.
Dude.
Eat bad, watch Star Wars.
As someone who just finally did the dishes, listen. Engage with your executive dysfunction. Let it win. So, man. I don't know. What are we doing? Wait.
I know that we don't have any merchandise, but it would be fabulous to see a legion of Trek Wars fans wearing Eat Bad, Watch Star Wars t-shirts everywhere. Let's get to the plot synopses, though, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
I'll start with Spectre of the Gun. Once again, aired October 25th, 1968. Director Vincent McAveety and writer Lee Cronin. I think I've heard that name before somewhere. Lee Cronin. Where am I?
That's Gene Kuhn.
Can't believe Aspen.
What?
You know a writer of Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know a writer of Star Trek pseudonym. You wouldn't have known that like a year ago.
Isn't that that's wild? True. You did give that to me, yes.
From New York entertainment columnist Joan Crosby, who previewed Spectre of the Gun for her syndicated TV Scout column, the review goes, tonight, the writers of Star Trek gave the ball to the costume and scenic designers with a faraway plot that didn't really require them. The men of the Enterprise are due for execution for trespassing, and their form of capital punishment is quite unique. They are transported to the Old West and to the site of the 1881 OK Corral battle. They are given the identities of the Clanton gang, and if you recall your history, the Earps did quite a job on those baddies. Thank you, Joan Crosby. We salute you.
That's a good. That was a good description, Joan. If you're still alive, good job.
Oh my gosh! Wait.
What?
I completely forgot. We have correspondence.
Oh my God. Oh shit. Okay, we got to do that before we get into this. Joan, calm down and wait.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. From our YouTube channel, which you can search by going into the show notes.
Sure can.
Below, because we are still building up that presence. From the Holdo Maneuver podcast, in terms of our recent episode, Rookies versus Is There in Truth No Beauty? Holdo Maneuver podcast says, Holdo Boys approved.
Cute.
And then another YouTube channel, Vactorverse, from YouTuber Vactor, I believe, goes, this I like.
Look at that. That's fun. That's fun.
It's really fun.
I like it.
I like it too.
Oh my God, I like you.
I like you. And finally, from patreon.com/TrekWarsPod, from user Feelyat, the subject goes, two Voyagers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Clarifying. Got it. Did I get this wrong?
Here we go.
Okay.
The episode Shattered, I think I got this wrong. If that's what it is. I have yet to read this comment fully. Episode Shattered that you mentioned, parentheses, one of my favorites, in parentheses, has the temporal distortion where different parts of the ship are in different alternate timelines. It's all being experienced as one ship by the protag Chakotay, Aspen's favorite character. Though episode Deadlock is likely the one you're thinking of, where two Voyagers are created by the phlebotinum of the week and they accidentally start injuring each other, parentheses, a little like that TOS episode y'all talked about some months ago where the one guy and his antimatter twin are trying to hunt each other down. The alternative factor.
Right.
This episode is not really a favorite of mine to, quote unquote, enjoy as such, but it's often a fantastic factoid to bring up that Harry Kim and Naomi Wildman from end of season 2 onward are replacements for the ones who died on the Voyager episode. Course Oblivion also fits the bill for having two Voyagers, although it's less likely that you were thinking of this one. Editor's note, a devastating episode of television. Truly. It's just a good horror / Twilight Zone type ep where everyone on the ship is mysteriously ill and dying. And they find out halfway through that they're all a bunch of silver blood duplicates from the demon class planet earlier in the season. They all just forgot. But this time, Silverblood Harry Kim doesn't make it, not even to send a time capsule out from the blowing up Voyager Janeway Prime just shows up to a bunch of space dust at the end of the episode. It's like, I guess I'll put in my logs that I saw some strange, sad space stuff. Oh, I don't
think I've seen that episode.
Aspen, if you're ever just bopping along, you're like, I'm ready to just feel devastated. Put on Course Oblivion, written by Pushing Daisy's own Brian Fuller.
Holy shit. I don't think because I didn't quite finish Voyager. I watched all of DS9. Oh,
we'll get to it.
Okay.
Whenever we are alternating DS9 and Voyager episodes.
Fun.
Oh. Anyways, I gave the synopsis for Spectre of the Gun as well as some correspondence.
Oh, yes. My turn.
Your turn.
My turn. Clone Wars. Star Wars The Clone Wars episode Downfall of a Droid. You already named the date. Just want to call out November 7th, 2008. Right after a presidential election. Wild, am I right?
No wonder this episode felt so hopeful to me.
It's funny, when Obama got elected the first time.
Barack Obama?
Barack Obama, specifically. That person, as opposed to the other Obama. I saw a Decemberist concert. Decemberists are my favorite band up in Boston. At the very end of it, they played the song that I really love called Sons and Daughters. And they brought out this cardboard cutout of Obama. And the entire audience was like, it was electric. So yeah, hopefulness. Am I right?
Yeah.
Anyway, director Rob Coleman, writer George Christick, who is different. We've had like kind of the same writer for the rest of them. This is episode 1 of a 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
It does in fact end on a bit of a cliffhanger that does leave you terrified. For
R2-D2. the ending just kind of
it's like
happens.
Yeah. Well,
there's no thematic closure in it. And I was just like, this is unsatisfying as a viewer, but perhaps by design.
It's interesting because some earlier correspondence we got maybe last week or the week before about like, does it feel fundamentally fair to compare full episodes of Star Trek to what often happens in the Clone Wars, which is like, it's a 3-parter effectively, or a 2-parter like this. And I think we came down on, who cares? No, we came down on like,
we grabbed the computer screen, went, Austin Aaron, your argument is stupid.
Stupid. You're a dummy.
Baby. No, what's going on?
I mean, I think the nature of the thing, right, is that we were like, no, this is what it is. It's one at a time. It's when it's released, chronological order. But, this is the first part of a 2-parter. So it has the sort of feeling of like, there's more to this story, but we got to end here, which is an interesting sort of space to be in. But spice. So here's the official description. Well, let's do the plot summary. After suffering a series of disastrous defeats at the hands of General Grievous, the Republic's foothold in the Outer Rim is in jeopardy. Commissioned to protect the strategic world of Bathawi. Oh no. Bathawi? Is that how you say it? Bathawi? Yeah, I'm just going to keep saying it the same way. Anakin Skywalker and his wary battle group are all that stands between the system and the domination by the droid army. And so what happens is R2-D2 is lost during a fierce space battle. So Anakin, along with Ahsoka and a replacement droid, R3-S6, must find him before the Separatists discover the Jedi military secrets locked in his memory banks. And that is it. So it is both about his attachment. He makes it that it's about, I never clear his memory, which in and of itself is about his attachment, right? He's like, I am attached to the friendship that is this droid.
Also, the first time, like canonically, that rule is established, that's a thing that happens.
You're right. And it's, I guess in the past, they've done the thing where it's like wipe 3PO's memory. Like, this is what's funny. Do you remember in the prequel at the very end, like of the Revenge of the Sith, where like Bail Organa's like wipe 3PO's memory basically, but like don't wipe R2-D2's memory. Like it's very much like, it's not both of them are not wiped. It's just 3PO.
Yeah, because Lucas needed 3PO to not remember things that happened in the prequels, but R2 you can't understand, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So this is the first time canonically that it is like, no, for good reason, we would wipe their memories because droids could be lost, just like now.
But also, that begs to question, what is the function of droids within fighters? Because it's never really been established what it is. And that question now is just like, what? I never thought about it. I was just like, they're just doing stuff.
But this episode is really great because by Goldie, whatever Ahsoka calls him, because she's fighting hard for this buddy, this R3 unit. It turns out that apparently R2 units, R3 units do a lot.
Yeah.
They do a lot of stuff. They don't just like open doors and shit. Like they help with navigational guidance and all the other kind of pieces like of piloting ships. And yeah, they're not just there to get little bug droids off your ship.
Yeah, which has never canonically been established. This is what they do. It's just kind of hand wavy because Star Wars to this point has really just been dealing with, and still does, larger swaths. It's about emotion and not like Star Trek, where they're literally sending scripts to Kellum DeForest research company in order to like double check the science and make sure that things make sense.
Do you think they sent it to them for this episode? They were like, can you double check the science of the OK Corral?
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely did.
What is it? What?
They sent every script and they were talking about how the Earps and the Clantons were being depicted, because they're being depicted in a very specific way, with the Earps just being overall baddies and the Clantons being good guys.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm pro that because ACAB, but if you do look it up, it is kind of funny.
But also the Clantons are in alliance with the sheriff of the town, which means that they're still in alliance with the law enforcement that is happening, but also the Earps or the Earps are the town marshals. So now I'm wondering, what the heck is the law? There's this proxy war that is going on within the OK Corral, but also this episode is not about that proxy war. It's about our heroes and the tension of what the heck these people do. It's a classic. Let's test these characters by putting them in a wild scenario based off of myth of their past, and they have to deal with archetypes.
I know we're like skipping around a lot.
We haven't even done our first impressions. Spoiler, I like both these episodes.
I really like both of these episodes. I 100% do. I like the Spectre of the Gun it's not just that they were sent to the Old West, and maybe this is for like budget reasons, I don't know. They're sent to like a sort of like just like the kind of like partial thing that you might see if like you're only doing outside shots on like a studio lot of a set. And it is actively like it's they call out this like not even finished. It's sort of like this concept of what these creatures they're kind of these, not people, but like what the kind of creatures that have put there, I'll say that, kind of what they would understand it to be. And the sky is just this constant wild kind of reddish orange. And it's like the like the dream sequence from Oklahoma before, like when it starts to get like scary with Curly. It's just like, oh, everything is like very abstract and we're doing like dances and it's like, I love. And it's like, no, Curly. And it's like, oh, there's a storm. It's wild. Love it.
Aspen, you correctly identified exactly why the sets look the way that they do.
Yeah.
Budget reasons.
Budget reasons.
As we've established earlier by covering season 3, the purse strings are even tighter on Star Trek. That's tighter all across the board. They're no longer allowing overtime on shoots, and they are crunching down on everything. They can't afford to go on location anymore.
No Vasquez rocks.
No Vasquez rocks. And so from the beginning of this episode, Matt Jeffries and the production team are like, we can have the sets like not have walls. And so the abstraction feeds into the abstract nature of how they're depicting the OK Corral. And you couple that with the fact that it's canonical within the episode that this is like drawn from Kirk's memory. It's drawn from their collective memory. So it's not even a realistic version of the OK Corral. It is this expressionistic version of the OK Corral. And then you couple that with the dread that nothing works. They are kind of doomed to their own fate.
Yeah. Can I just?
Yes.
Can I just?
I already said yes.
Listen.
Here we go.
According to Wikipedia, did you know that the majority of editors and writers of articles for Wikipedia are men?
That tracks.
Yeah. And in fact, it's actually a initiative. It's part of like the kind of Wikipedia groups and like the nonprofit to try to encourage more like dynamism and like of marginalized people and like kind of engaging with that. It's very interesting. Dynamism. Fun fact. So Wikipedia, the conflict between the Earps and this other group,
the Clantons.
And I'm just going to make sure because I did read through it, but I want to make sure I'm getting this right. The Clantons were at that point, it was still kind of like the term was cowhands. They were the cowboys, and like that's what they called themselves. And they were cattle stealers. Like they would go down to Mexico and steal cattle and bring them back up and sell them. Like they were nuisances. Like they were very much like lawless people. So it's not like they like you could be like, well, the Earps also fucking suck, which I'm sure they do, but like it's not like they're the good guys or like the Earps are the baddies. You know what I mean? In terms of the actual history of the thing.
According to These Are the Voyages from Mark Cushman and Susan Osborne, the Earps, to the chagrin of Sheriff Behan, instated a gun ordinance in Tombstone.
Yes, exactly.
Any cowboys refusing to surrender their firearms upon entering the township were considered to be outlaws and subject to arrest.
And
I like that law. That's
persisted. They were like, we're going to keep on carrying.
They persisted.
That's how I feel about NRA members. Nevertheless, they persisted. That's set by them, right? You know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's lawman against loosely organized group of cattle rustlers and horse thieves called the Cowboys. So just as a kind of clarification about it, and then by the time they got to it, like the conflict itself, like the shootout was just like seconds. Pretty wild. Like it was so fast, but then it like persisted past that. Like they kind of kept going after each other, like the ones that had survived and stuff. So it's definitely pretty wild. A couple of other things like I learned from this, you know, like the kind of reveal of Doc Holliday as being a dentist. He had been a dentist where he lived in, I think he might have been from like Tennessee, and became a professional gambler when he moved out to the West, which was like an actual profession at the time, like to be a gambler, and then became like a lawman, you know, with the Earps. There's just interesting kind of stuff to go with it. But
so they had the thing that I'm trying to wrap my mind around is that I had a sheriff
They did have a sheriff.
And then there's also a marshal.
Yes, I looked this up. It's that Virgil Earp was the deputy U.S. Marshal. So that's like we're presuming higher than the sheriff of the town because he's a U.S. Marshal.
Okay.
So he has higher standing.
But he was based in Tombstone.
Yeah.
So
was
did he have
Tombstone?
Yeah, because
this happens in Tombstone. Which, by the way, I've been there. I've been to Tombstone. I stopped in Tombstone.
Why is it called Tombstone? Very ominous.
It was called Tombstone before this even happened.
Sure.
I'm sure it just...
Yeah, beforehand it was like Lucky Clover City.
I went there and there's like one of those like silly little like kind of like haunted type houses kind of things that you can like just like walk through, and it gives you a little bit of like talks about the space, and then like ghosts come out. I fucking loved it. It is very touristy. I loved it. Tombstone. I'm not sure where he was. Where he's based. So yeah, it took place in Tombstone, of course. Simmering feud. There's a lot of brothers in this too.
There's too many brothers. We gotta have less brothers in pop culture.
We gotta stop that. It's really, truly like hackneyed, I'd say, for them to all be brothers.
And father issues. More men should have mother issues.
And fewer brothers.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, conflict portrayed with varying degrees of accuracy. It's an archetype for much of the popular imagery associated with the Old West. Apparently, this is another fun fact. Again, I'm just kind of quoting Wikipedia, but just so you know, because maybe you like hearing it from me rather than reading it. It didn't actually take place at the OK Corral, like itself. It actually took place in a narrow lot on the site of a photography studio.
Gunfight in the narrow lot.
Yep. Not nearly as interesting as being in the corral itself.
But I'm still trying to wrap my brain. And this is not important to the episode at all, because this episode is dealing with
not necessarily the actual like historical accuracy of the thing.
More like broad strokes.
Although they definitely look like them. If you look at pictures, they look like them. I mean, like more or less, right? Yeah. Like they do. The guys playing the Earps are like, and Doc Holliday are great.
Awesome.
So good.
I love that the Earps are the baddies in this episode. It's very novel, considering that, I mean, within our childhood, there were two major motion pictures that were made about the gunfight at the OK Corral, Tombstone, and Kevin Costner's Wyatt Earp.
Oh, that's how I know that name.
Yeah. And so it persists into the cultural memory. But it's always that the Earps are the bad, or Earps are the good guys. No, not here. Earps are the bad guys, and the heroes, our heroes, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Scotty, and Chekhov, are cast as the baddies because that's what the Melkotians do. They make them the baddies, and then I guess the Melkotians' intent is just to execute them using a vision of their own violence, which is... Okay, so the earlier version of the script.
Okay. Also, just want to say, this is one of those situations where, you know, that bit in, oh my gosh.
Star Trek.
Mike Myers.
The TV show.
Austin Powers? You know that bit in Austin Powers where it's like, why are you making this so complicated? Like Seth Green's son character is just like, just shoot him. I've got a gun. Like, let's just shoot him. And he's like, why does it have to become so complicated? That's what this feels like.
Not truly.
Like, well, just get him.
Aspen.
Yeah.
In the original script from Gene Kuhn. I think you had already said that before.
I did.
The aliens have isolated themselves from humans after intercepting ancient TV and radio signals from Earth. It is from these signals, news, and entertainment programs 300 years in the Earth's past and the patterns of Kirk's mind that the aliens choose the surroundings of characters to carry out the execution of the unwelcomed humans. TLDNR, it wasn't just pulling from Kirk's mind. The aliens were scared because they'd been watching our TV and radio and were like, we cannot deal with these folks. And so to punish you, because we've been inundated with this pop culture, we're going to make you face clearly what you are all about. Here's this lesson.
Oh Why not keep that?
This concept, again, pulling from These Are the Voyages Season 3, that late 20th century television programming where causing an alien race to feel threatened by humans was both clever and amusing. However, in 1968, the networks were under fire from activist groups and government regulators regarding too much violence on TV. NBC wanted to present a positive image of setting examples for America with this programming, not admitting how entertainment shows depict man as violent and irrational. Reference to the aliens distrusting humans and believing them to be violent could stay. Blaming it on TV had to go.
Wow.
That would have made the central metaphor a lot more potent as opposed to kind of drawing it loosely.
Yeah.
Because as it stands, I feel like the central metaphor is kind of lost as opposed to they're kind of obsessed with the rules of how do we get out of this jam? We're going to die at 5. I did not feel the tension there, which is unfortunate because the episode is nothing but we're going to be adding tension on top of tension on top of tension. But I think whenever you know that these characters are going to get out of this jam,
sure,
so you have to have something else going on.
I mean, the most tense it got was having Chekhov actively die.
That's true.
That was interesting. I was like, of course he can't be really dead, but like, whoa, fuck me, you know?
Yeah.
I think the point, you're right, that like, it's the kind of episode that if it weren't so visually engaging to me,
yes,
and just so weird, I might have been like, I guess it's phone time, you know, because it does sort of like lose its tension. There isn't much to really bolster it, truly.
Well, then there are 2 questions that I have. One, there is a fascinating argument that could have been interrogated more because Kirk's mission is to engage with the Melkotians.
Sure.
That's his mission. And the Melkotians are like, no, go away. But instead, Kirk is like, no, my assignment is to establish relations with you. I'm going to do that. And so there's an imperialist question that is touched on somewhere in the episode after Chekhov gets shot of being like, should I have done that? Should I have gone away? But then it just kind of gets hand-waved away, which makes sense. Because it's 1968 and they're not necessarily asking those highfalutin questions, instead participating in the exercise. My second question is,
if it had been Star Wars, they would have been like, are we the imperialist baddies?
Are we the baddies?
Are we the baddies?
And then the second question, and I think this one might be a little bit more intentional, albeit kind of simmering a little bit lower than the intention, is this just a satire of Westerns at the time? Not satires and ha ha ha, let's chuckle, but instead kind of interrogating the notions of, because what is most popular on TV? Well, this is kind of towards the end of the movement of the Western as a genre. And we have Gunfight at the OK Corral, arguably the most popular archetype, the most popular real life story that embodies the American Western genre. Mm-hmm. Something that gets repeated often. DeForest Kelley, within These Are the Voyages, apparently was in 3 different things that were depicting gunfight at the OK Corral, always in a different role.
Wild.
And then you couple that with Vincent McAveety, who was picked because he has experience filming Westerns. And then Gene Coon, Gene Coon's writing this episode. It's supposed to be a satire of television. That kind of gets removed, but it's still kind of interrogating. Is this episode intentionally interrogating the Western genre? Because the Earps are the baddies. But the Earps are rarely the baddies.
This is cool. This makes a lot of sense, actually, that historically Earps are would not be represented as the baddies. And what does this mean that they are here? Because they are very frightening. Very specifically lit in certain ways. Like
Vincent McAveety told at least the actor that played Wyatt or maybe Virgil, or either way, he gave the direction, play these characters, our lawmen, as dead.
Oh my God, they feel that way.
Yeah.
God, they feel, oh God, the like way that they're talking. It's one of those where it could be, if you weren't thinking about it and you're just kind of coming in with a like, Star Trek is old and dumb, you might be like, bad acting. No, it's very, I could tell. I was like, this is deliberate. And
2
like,
shirts, eat bad, watch Star Wars, and then another shirt that says Star Trek is old and dumb. and then the Trek Wars logo on the back.
To me, I was like, these are very deliberate performances and they're terrifying to me. Like
it's an extremely stylized episode. And it starts from them being like, our budget is cut. Let's have some novel production design. And then from there, everything just kind of goes outward.
Like, it's like Sam Raimi. It's like Evil Dead being so interesting because of having like not having a lot of money and making some of the coolest visuals you could possibly see. And I would love that.
So good.
Evil Dead, all the Evil Deads. All the Evil Deads.
I haven't watched all the TV show. I've only watched the first season.
God, I love that show.
I had to muscle my way through that first season. It was hard.
I talked about this. I love Ash versus Evil Dead. I love it.
Great. But also, Evil Dead Rise, great.
Yeah,
great
that was that was a really good movie.
Yeah. Anyway, Spectre of the Gun is a possible satire of Westerns. People that are in the midst of the Western genre being like, let's.
What is this? What are we doing? What are we doing here? What, making all these Westerns? What are we doing?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And as someone who doesn't have a lot of context for what it might have been like at the time, like kind of being like, everything's another Western. I
want to reiterate, I'm not sure if this is an intentional satire, but also everything is so abstracted that I can't help but be like, are these folks saying something about the Western genre?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really fascinating. I mean, let's pull it this way. Maybe they are, or maybe they aren't. Let's decide they are. Okay. What would they be satirizing in terms of what like the Western genre represents?
ACAB. Truly.
It is.
Because the Clantons are depicted as, the Clantons are our heroes, and they are ostensibly our protagonists. And then not only that, but like the sheriff of the town is in league with them. Mm-hmm. And our heroes are like, we didn't do anything wrong. Meanwhile, the ERPs that we have lionized within popular culture are portrayed as these dead specters, more or less. Their gaze is all over, and whenever they try to negotiate with them, they're like, I don't care. We're going to shoot you at 5:00. And then the only way that they can, this is where this notion gets a little bit wonky, because the end of the episode involves Spock very coolly mind melding with the rest of them and being like, just believe that the bullets don't exist, thereby breaking the archetype. And then, gosh, in the original episode, they were just going to have a big honkin' fight. Instead, Kirk fights one of them a little bit. And then, the camera pushes in and it pushes back out. And then they Star Trek by being like, we've grown past violence.
They do. I like that. They Star Trek. Yeah. Yeah. The only time that messaging, sounds like the earlier script messaging of like, are we encouraging violence? Like, are we, it comes out there where it's like, he was so angry, like, you killed supposedly Chekhov, like, I want to kill you, but then resisted. And that does become the point of like, well, and he even explicitly says, like, we've grown past this violence, which they have not, which is a
great notion. And then in later iterations of Star Trek, they will be like, that instinct was never there. Right. As opposed to this episode where you're exactly right. Yeah, that instinct was there, but I made the conscious choice not to exercise that. So I guess to connect it with the satirizing of the Western, instead deciding to break these stories and instead being like, we are not going to engage with you. We believe these archetypes to be false.
Westerns are inherently violent. Like, they're about rough living. They're about cowboys, and they're about oftentimes there's a lot of like indigenous peoples who are also seen as savages. There's a lot of death and violence, and it's like digging into the depths of like what it is to be human. We are violent inherently. Like, put us out into the West where there are no rules and suddenly we kill each other kind of idea. And there is an interesting, like, it if we're saying we're actually doing this in the context of a show that is saying, no, we can be more than this, that would make sense.
Which is interesting because this notion begins with Kirk being ordered to participate in an imperialism, which is established, but it's also saying that our imperialism actually is different now. As opposed to if they had actually embodied the notions that they purport at the end of the episode, they would have just turned the ship around and being like, you know what? They don't really want to talk to us. That's fine.
Yeah, they definitely violated very clearly set boundaries.
Yeah, but also like we have to have an episode of Star Trek. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Man, taking part in an imperialism. Star. I kept wanting to make a joke that was just like, do you think Anakin was giving in to his like baser instincts when he killed all those women and children?
I think so.
I think so.
Let's interrogate that.
Let's interrogate that. Actually, let's interrogate. Like, can we talk about, so like a similarity of like systems of power, like within like what's happening in Clone Wars and like what's happening in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
There is, not to like pull too hard at this, but let's see where we can get.
We already pulled really hard with Spectre of the Gun. Let's pull. I hope that our listeners enjoy us pulling and trying to make thematic sense and figuring out what this art means to us.
Because I loved this Clone Wars episode. I love them all. I truly do.
It was unexpected. I mean, on top of the clone, I have been talking a lot about we're setting plates. We're plate setting. And this episode feels like we're digging. We're digging in. Yeah.
Because we are exploring what Anakin's connections to not just people, but also to his droid, his relationship with Ahsoka, touch of his relationship with Obi-Wan, some fun action pieces. But Anakin, I don't know what I'm trying to get to here, but like they are representative. They're of a republic, but they are supposed like they're Jedi were peacekeepers until now. We're engaging in this war in which we are now generals, and we are effectively part of like a hierarchical structure that is enforcing order. That's going to be your ultimate, right? We've got people below us. We have to have a hierarchy. We have to give orders. We have to go through this. Anakin consistently breaks that constantly. Like he is not following orders. He is always going off track. He goes off track in this one. Like the whole piece of it is they are like, we need to retreat. And he's like, no, like at the very beginning of the episode, like I'm going to make this happen. And I wonder about that in terms of like breaking of systems of power, or like who is the baddie,
whereas our episode of Star Trek was a little bit about the interrogation of power structures, the way that we perceive them. And I don't know, our idealistic power structure that's depicted in Star Trek.
Right.
And instead deciding to reject violence, reject the tropes that have been put forth, and instead embarking on, let's do this together. I know it's hard, but we truly will choose to mean well, even whenever it hurts us. And this episode of the Clone Wars, I think you're saying, is to go back to our discussion about his Star Wars a Western. Anakin seems to be embodying that lone gunslinger attitude, that routine.
He is. He always does. And I always get a little bit like...
You're so smart. You're so smart.
No, you're so smart. Thank you for actually like putting into words what I was trying to say.
You're so smart. Everybody, audience, don't we think Aspen's smart?
No. Stop. Don't make me sing. Oh my God. No, you're so smart. Thank you for distilling that. I was trying to get to it. I'm often a little bit like, ooh, boy, is Anakin go against my like statement that Star Wars is about collective action by being such an individualistic person. But I think that is inherently part of it. Like his individual choices do break from the norm, and they often succeed.
Which is complicated because he is ultimately the baddie, but also to steal. Joyce Holloway's wonderful notion of protagonism is propaganda, and also we want to be the lone gunslinger.
Yes,
too.
We do.
And so Anakin is exercising it, but also what is so great about this episode is everyone, even though we know R2, we love R2.
Yes.
Seen him in concert, seen him live, exquisite experience.
Bought all his albums.
Bought all of his albums. So we know R2, we love R2, and this episode is really good at making us much like a curious dog tilt our head and being like, is all of this worth it? I mean, it is R2-D2, but also...
I know. He is just one droid.
Yeah.
Which has implications in and of itself about how we feel about droids who clearly have feelings and emotions.
I hate it whenever Star Wars brings up droid rights because then it brings up so many questions about the movies that I love.
Ahsoka literally says there's that Goldie, the R3 unit. She's like, you hurt his feelings, and I'm just like, oh boy. I mean, we know, but you actively called it out.
Yeah. While at the same time being like, but R2 doesn't matter that much.
Exactly. But it's almost like they're treating him for what it's worth in this. I think there is a bit of he's just a droid, but they're almost treating him like a fallen soldier. Soldiers die all the time in war. Why should we care so much about this one? But the show has established up until this point that no, you do matter individually.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you are just a clone, quote unquote, you're still a person who matters. Or at least it's tried really hard to go out of its way to say that. So there's a little bit of both ending here.
But is that individual sacrifice or is that individual gunslinger attitude worth it whenever you are putting other people in such naked danger?
Right, because the gunslinger stuff works when he has an idea that works and everybody's got his back and it's clever and we can all do it together. But what does it look like when it's oh, I never clear his memory. Oh shit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And or even if that hadn't been the case, I'm going to go after him because I love him. Truly. Yeah.
It's that individual notion that is driven so much by naked emotion versus gunslinger route twos, which might be more the wonderful thing that Last Jedi is able to subvert. So
do we like The Last Jedi?
Love Last Jedi. What are you talking about? It's my favorite Star Wars movie.
Do we like it?
We do.
I'm so sorry, everybody. We're not sorry. Just so you know.
Not sorry. And also I attempt to try and like all of it because it's fun, but sometimes I just don't like things. Like Rise of Skywalker, a movie that was...
Wow.
Anyways.
Yeah. Sorry, lone gunslinger.
I mean, whenever Luke turns off his targeting computer, that's lone gunslinger attitude, but 100%. Also he's connecting with the Force.
The Force.
And it's less based in emotion and more like, I think this is going to work.
Balance.
As opposed to here, where it's so motivated by attachment disorder.
Can we just clarify really quickly that the way that the Jedi approach attachment is fucked? But you are correct in that he very much has a disorganized attachment disorder.
Yes. I think that's a great clarification. I appreciate that.
He just genuinely, for good reason, is like, everybody's going to leave me. I'm terrified of people I love dying for good reason.
Yeah. And the Jedi are like,
why?
Get over it.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Fuck is wrong with you?
Knock it off. As opposed to being like, yeah.
Oh boy.
We are all sad at all times.
Yeah. Loss is truly part of life. What does that mean for us?
Here is how, let me work with you to help you make peace with it, because I am also sad. There are greater truths that we can access because this is part of the balance of life.
You'd make a really good Jedi.
Yeah. Aspen, get over your attachment disorder. That's what a Jedi would do. Knock it off.
Okay.
I know that you're sad, but Jedis don't get sad. Don't worry about it.
Considered not being sad.
Have you... Let me run this by you. You could just not be sad.
You could just choose.
You could just choose to... I know that you're sad. But I am not sad. So why are you not like that?
Have you tried yoga?
Have you tried...
Oh, Nice yoga shirt. Okay.
Yoga,
Have you tried?
yoga shirt. Yoga, that's the little guy, right? The little green guy. And what is it? Empire Knocks Off? I love Star Wars. Ask me any question about Star Wars, I'll answer it.
Yeah. What's your favorite character from The Phantom Menace?
What's that?
What's your favorite character from The Phantom Menace?
Which one is that?
First, episode 1.
Oh, yes. Luke Skywalker. Love that guy.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Favorite character from episode 1.
Concept of Luke Skywalker strong.
What? What's that?
Huh?
Downfall of a droid.
Great.
Is R3 a spy?
Yes. I mean, I imagine. Sorry, shit. I have seen these. Okay, but it's basically called out. It's basically called out, though, in this episode. There
is nothing more that I like than Aspen reflexively just answering. Because I've never seen these episodes. Aspen is so excited.
I'm pretty sure, yes. And also, in this episode, Aspen,
you can't backpedal. You gave me the answer. R3 is a spy. You can't backpedal. You said yes so confidently. And then attempted to backpedal.
Well, but like Grievous legit is just like, hey, the plan is working. The only way that plan would be working is if R3 got him there on purpose.
What's the plan?
Like, it's like they're, I don't know, by the time they get to that episode, it's like he's gone, he's, used the cool hyperdrive ring, gone through space, found him. And then very specifically, R3, R3 can't be that shit. Come on. He basically fucks everything up and then gets him, drops the hyperspace ring, pulls him out of it, and then that gets blown up by Grievous and the ship, and won't do anything. Even he actually activates the beacon, and that's the point where Grievous is just like, great, this is the plan. So that's why I feel like it's like, come on. If he's like the beacon is part of the plan, then R3's got to be a baddie.
Which he is, because you confirmed it.
God damn it.
Questioned, is R3 a spy?
God damn it.
Love it. Love it. Love it. With all the joy in your face, just reflexively. So great. Wonderful. There are few better in this world than Aspen Webster, I gotta say.
Ahsoka really pulls for him, and I think the only reason I remembered it so distinctly is because she was like, fuck, shit, okay. I don't know. I think she's it's funny because I remember the first time I watched it, I think I was like, why are you so on the side of this droid? And now I'm like, well, she doesn't care necessarily about the droid. She's worried about Anakin and his the loss so distinctly that
she's trying to do some parenting of her surrogate parent, which is dangerous.
Oh, dude. Remember, Ahsoka is 14 years old here. 14.
Too young. I don't think anyone should be that young.
No, I think it should be illegal to be that young.
Yeah, I think you should start off at 24.
Yeah, right. Just
and even then, kind of dicey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know about that, right? Oh, God. I think really I hit when was it? 27, maybe 28? And I was like, okay, we're getting better.
Sure.
So, yeah, she's 14. She's also making major military decisions, right? She's doing a lot of shit. 14 years old. And she's parenting her older brother / parent. I know. Pretty desperate there. There's a lot of really cool things that happen. The episode just rules.
It's a great ep, and it's given me the emotional depth that I've kind of been looking for. And I guess the Clone Wars so far, but it's the understanding that this stuff will start getting deeper the further that we go on. And I love the complex characterization. Also, the thing that the prequels and also Genndy Tartakovsky thing was guilty of, which is, did you know that Anakin Skywalker is going to be Darth Vader? As opposed to the context here, which is just no, he's making some stupid emotional decisions.
He's just a buddy. They go to the it's the ship that like kind of picks up detritus and stuff, and the like main dude is that they call him Lizardo. I forgot what species he is, but he's the same species as like the character in Bad Batch that is great.
Lizardo, which I'm pretty sure is a Buckaroo Banzai reference.
Yeah, okay.
Have you seen that movie, Aspen?
No.
Whoa.
Buckaroo
Banzai is like Avengers Infinity War but without the bummer ending, and also in the 80s where you were just watching it, you're like, what is all of this?
What is that?
And it would be the experience I'm sure never having watched Marvel and watching Avengers Infinity War, and you're just like, I don't understand any of this. That's what the Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai is. It is wild. Jeff Goldblum plays a cowboy named New Jersey.
I'm in. He's one of my favorite moments though, like when it was like they come up and they're like, you know, obviously not going to be like, we're Jedi, and he calls Ahsoka Pookums. And I loved that. It's like great. He's just like, Pookums here is really set on an R2 unit. It's also the introduction, I think, of those is it the introduction of the assassin droids? They show up later, of course, in Mandalorian, and this might be the first time they show up in general.
The IG-88s.
Yeah, IG-88s. Which is fantastic. It's really cool stuff.
Oh, I didn't like that decision.
You didn't?
No, because I'm stealing this from Star Wars Minute, which is such a rad podcast. But that notion in Star Wars that you see one thing, and suddenly, whenever you dig into the extended universe canon, you're like, actually, all of them are this way, as opposed to like, it's just a droid that happens to be an assassin, but no, all of those droids are assassins. That's really more of a quibble, but I just like the prospect of IG-88 just being a droid that happened to be an assassin, as opposed to a legion of assassin droids. Does that make sense? Am I smart?
I mean, for sure.
Does that make sense?
This came out before Mandalorian, so these droids are like designated as assassin droids to start.
But there's IG-88 in Empire Strikes Back.
Oh my God, you're right. IG-88 is the one of the bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're absolutely right. So you're right. I'm with you then, that it's like, maybe that's just a droid that's a bounty hunter versus, oh no, they're all. No, I'm with you. You're right.
You see a Yoda, and suddenly all of the Yodas from that planet,
you're 100%.
are all short. It's another thing that grinds my gears. I don't like that Grogu is 50-something years old.
Yeah, it does in terms of like, I'm like, what does he do? Just like have a huge growth spurt like over the next 10? What happens?
I don't like that.
How does his development work? Yeah, no. You're right. I had completely forgotten about Empire. Well, wow, slap my hand or my wrist or whatever you want to slap. Like,
I don't.
My face.
I don't like this line of.
You slap my face?
No,
just
I'm not.
Like,
I'm not in this. But you know that notion of extended universe canon where, like, you meet an accountant in the movies, and then you read the extended universe, and it's just like he actually comes from a planet of accountants.
Yeah,
all of them. The whole planet is one big accounting firm.
Oh, wait. You mean are you referring to something? Are you satirizing something?
A long time ago, start date this week. I courted a beau, I dated a geek, but none of them could warp my drive into hyperspace. The best of both worlds kept me in second place. Captain's log on a holocron. I wanted a snog, I penned a song. 17 more minutes of thighs in super high def. Aboard the USS Enterprise, DTF. Don't you take my Ewok lighter and clip it. Don't you take my red shirt buddy and nip it. If you spill the tea, I'm gonna sip it. I starship it.
Aspen, what are we doing?
Oh my God, Kenny, I have to tell you something.
Okay.
You know the television program actually on Dropout?
Yes.
They just did this as like a shiny question. And it was basically they had to choose between they gave a name, and it was either supposed to be like a ship, name, like a romantic relationship like Reylo, or is it a starship? And it was like, that's ours.
They stole something from Trek Wars?
They clearly have listened and watched.
Iffy, come on the pod. Iffy Wadiway, come on the pod.
Iffy Wadiway, Brian David Gilbert, come on the pod. No, I saw it and I got so excited because obviously what we're doing is we're naming our favorite ships, starships that sail through the stars and our favorite romantic relationships.
Well, the ships don't necessarily sail through the stars this week.
That's true. That's very true. Oh my gosh, I didn't. I was doing so much shit around the OK Corral that I didn't even stop to think about this.
Not only did I think about it, I wrote it down.
Oh, fantastic. You can go first. What's your starship?
I'm going to say, and this is going to create a great discussion of one of the most dynamic action scenes that I've seen, or the most novel action scenes that I've seen in Clone Wars so far. The six-legged ATTEs.
Okay, that would have been mine. I did fucking love those things. Oh, I love them so much. Because
Grievous is the Republic fleet is around the planet because they're trying to protect the planet, and Grievous is like,
yes,
Grievous, in an allusion to Star Trek 2, maybe, probably not. It's more likely Filoni just being like, and filmmakers, not just Filoni, being like, okay, why don't they just go up?
I say that all the time.
Why don't they just go down? And the answer is because it would be a strategic risk. Instead, we have to go through the rocks because it's going to give us more. It's just going to be better. We're going to have more cover. Is riskier, sure, but it's going to pay off because the Republic would not be crazy enough to go through it because they can't lose forces.
Can I tell you, those asteroids looked like potatoes. That's all.
That's probably because in Empire Strikes Back,
they look like potatoes.
There were actual potatoes as asteroids in the background.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
I did not notice that. I'm glad that you noticed that. That's probably why.
I'm so happy.
And so the Republic stationed some ATTEs along with clones on the asteroids.
Yes.
It's very cool. The Filoni Zone revealed that, again, they have limited assets. They don't want to build new stuff. And so what they did have was ATTEs, which created a very novel action set piece by putting the ATTEs on the asteroids. And so whenever Grievous's ship comes through, they start firing. It's very cool. And then you couple that with the fact that the ATTE looks really cool. It's like a little beetle.
It does. It looks like a little insect. Oh God, I love it. It's a
great set piece. I absolutely love it.
It was a fantastic battle. I have been looking up because I did remember there was a ship that I was like, wahoo, I love this ship. I just don't know the name of it. But maybe if I describe it, you'll know what I'm talking about, which is they look like Battlestar Galactica ships. They're separatist ships, and they just had they're the ones that they were going after Anakin when he had come up on light speed, and like he did that fun thing where he had the missiles shot at him and he kind of like stopped, and then all the missiles sort of like came together, and then he like shot at the missiles and blew them all up at the same time. It was very cool. And there are these very specific kind of ships that were so Battlestar to me. They might have been Droid Tri-Fighters. That might have been like what they were, but I just loved the look of them very specifically. Do you know the ones I'm talking about?
I do not know what the ones that you're talking about. I might have to scroll through the episode later in order to literally just see what you're talking about. Listeners, if you know what the ship is that she's talking about, please write in, correct us, just like Jolty Partner corrected me on that episode of Star Trek Voyager, which I truly appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, good second place is whatever the fuck that thing is at the beginning of the Spectre of the Gun. Oh, I looked. By the way, I compared episodes. It's almost like it's like a buoy out there that's spinning. And I'm like, what is going on with that thing?
It kind of looks like a Horus earpiece, but just doubled.
Yeah. Basically, the new version just looks a lot like the old version.
It's great.
just like spinning, like a spinning top in space. I did really like that thing.
Their goal with the remastered versions was to try and approximate the original versions as closely as possible, because also they were doing this in the wake of the Star Wars Special Edition. And so they were like, we can't change it too much, but also we want to update it.
Yeah. I think the updates are really lovely. I just really like original stuff, you know?
Yeah. I love the way that it looks originally. I know that they were worried about it looking rough and stuff. And I'm just like, this looks gorgeous. I love the grain texture on the ships.
Yeah.
And also, it reminds me as a film dude to be like, this stuff is hard.
Yeah. Yeah. God.
You are literally seeing the fruits of their labor because no one had ever made a Star Trek before. No one had ever made science fiction TV like that before. There was other science fiction, case in point, Lost in Space, but it just feels radically different. Yeah.
I love it. But I mean, it's the same reason I very much like the original Star Wars, apart from all of the great man shit. You know, it's more just like, I mean, just said it earlier. Like, if someone came in and was like, let's make the special effects in Evil Dead better, I'd be like, fuck off. They're like, what is created, like, has a spirit to it. Mm-hmm. And like, I think the remastered Star Trek is very beautiful. And there are definitely components of like the remastered Star Wars that are beautiful, but there's some like real joy to like, yeah.
And also the difference with the Star Trek remastered is that you can go buy the original versions.
Right.
Whenever you buy the Blu-ray or even on Amazon, you can go buy the original versions. The versions that are streaming on Paramount Plus are the remastered ones, but you can go find the original ones in a extremely high quality.
Yeah.
That's not the case with the original Star Wars. You had to go through different channels to go find things. And then the weird thing is that those original versions those restoration efforts have gone to the fans. There's this fascinating ownership of that. And that's why I ship fans.
You ship yourself with the fans?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I never want to ship myself with Star Wars fans.
Okay.
The end of it.
What's your ship? What's your real ship?
Chekhov and Sylvia.
Okay, you took it. That's fine. It's a good one. There's a lot of kissing.
There's a lot of kissing, and then Chekhov at some point is like, I gotta look. If we're gonna go the distance, I gotta tell you, I'm not actually part of the Clantons. I'm actually Pavel Chekhov. To which Sylvia's like, no, you're not. You're one of the Clantons. Aspen, would you like to hear the gross thing that Gene Roddenberry wanted this week?
Oh my God. Let me think about it for a second. Okay.
Genie Beanie can't help himself.
Genie
Beanie can't. He can't help but be disgusting.
What did he want?
Chekhov and Sylvia, again from These Are the Voyages.
Yeah.
Grab onto your microphone, Aspen.
I don't want to because I'll just hit it.
Yeah, just grab onto it.
I've got a problem with hitting this microphone.
Let's see if we can get away with making Sylvia about 16 years old.
What?
Or at least suggesting she's just a kid.
Why?
For one thing, this is how it was in the true Old West. And for another, it makes her kind of special and ties in with the youth image we hope to get of Chekhov. And our young Russian would certainly have some interesting comments to make about how America's history included the using of tender young things for that age of such purposes.
I quit.
Please no. I don't want to do this podcast with anyone else.
I gotta quit.
No, please don't. Please don't go.
Jim Roddenberry's dead, right?
Yeah, very dead.
Very dead. Do you want to dig up his bones and curse them?
I put a curse on you.
You're already dead. I follow you into the afterlife. Oh my God. I like that multiple times. Like, do you know what Genie Beanie wanted to do here? And like someone was able to be like, no. Some of them. But it sounds like the worst of them, people were like, my dude, my bro.
It's just way too often that Gene comes in as like, what if there's a sex thing?
Oh my God. Get out of here. It's so weird.
And then also sweet. What's going to be great, and I hope that you keep this in mind for way later down in the podcast history, but sex just kind of goes away in Star Trek.
So
it just
weird.
Stops.
boring. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like I want that kind of gross sex, but I want there to not be sex, you know? Like, I just want it to be like not pedophilia.
Well, the weird thing is that sex kind of goes away, but hot ladies are still all over the place in Star Trek.
Got it.
But it's just never talked about, and then it's weird and gross and stuff.
There's still sexualization.
Oh, yeah.
It's just without agency. Cool.
You throw it away.
Yeah. Cool. Mine would be McCoy and Doc Holliday.
Shut up.
McCoy walks into the sort of dentist space because he's looking for materials to knock them out. And like you mentioned earlier, they're not working because this is about like believing in the thing. And
Yes,
my backup.
We haven't talked about the fact that they try to make a tranquilizer grenade.
Yes, a tranquilizer grenade, which is really rad. Very cool.
It's really cool, and it's because they couldn't like use guns or certain things. It goes in with this NBC tenet of we don't want our characters to be building like a gun. And Leonard Nimoy was like, I don't want my character to be building a phaser. He would be building a communicator or something to try and get us out of here. And the compromise was this rad tranquilizer that should have worked because whenever they're talking, McCoy screams. Not screams, but McCoy's like, get me a mortar and pestle.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, I've got a question.
Yeah, boss.
If you were to pronounce that word, would you say pestle or pestle?
Pestle.
Because McCoy says pestle. And then Kirk says pestle.
Huh. I say pestle.
What do you want? What do you want to be true?
I
noticed it. I noticed it so specifically. I
would say Han Solo.
Yeah, I would say Leia. I would say. I knew someone. I had this friend.
I would say Luke Skywalker.
I had this friend in college named Faris. And Faris.
Oh.
So like spelled like Paris, but with an F, but it was Faris. And another one of my friends could literally, like, I would be like, so Faris standing right here wants to go see a movie. And my friend would always be like, oh, Ferris, is that what you want? And I'm just like, Faris has said this. And he'd just be like, Ferris. And I was just like, how is this possible? Like, I don't understand how we could be doing this.
You can literally just repeat what you were saying.
Faris. Yeah. Anyway, that's why I noted it. It's so funny because I was like, one explicitly said pestle and one said pestle. And then I was like, I don't actually know how it's pronounced.
So anyways, McCoy and Doc Holliday, they're kissing.
So he comes into that space to get the materials for this fun little tranquilizer like bomb, which rules. And he's like, he goes into the dentist's office basically, and he's just like, "No, so this will work." And this guy is like standing there over someone who has, oh god, it's such a good reveal. Like has a cloth over his face.
Great day on set.
Oh my god!
That actor just be like, "You're gonna chill in this barber chair, and we're gonna put like a towel over you."
Put his towel over his head.
You just chill.
McCoy is just like looking at stuff and he's like, I'm going to take some of this, right? And he's just like, is that okay? And the other guy's like, it's not mine, it's his. And like the real being that his name is Doc Holliday because he used to be a dentist, and he like takes the towel off his head, gets up and just like comes in with that like dead man thing, but they're so close to each other. And I was like, you gonna kiss? You gonna kiss right now? Electric energy. Yeah. Wild chemist. And instead he's just like, they're gonna die. And I was like, ooh, enemies don't lovers. Never happened. Alas. Anyway, then he got out. He was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna take the shit for no good reason. Goodbye. Thank you. Anyway,
adore the ship.
We did it. But we're not yet done.
We are not yet done as we go to the main conceit of the podcast. Of course, knock it off about all this artist subjective stuff. We actually both believe that art is objective and there can only be one winner in the eternal fight of which is better, Star Trek versus Star Wars. As once again, we rank Spectre of the Gun from Star Trek, the original series, season 3 versus Star Wars, the Clone Wars, Downfall of a Droid. Aspen. Since I went first during I Starship It, why don't you go first with ranking?
It's so funny. I
you know what? I agree.
It's pretty funny. What funny? I I keep just giving all of these Clone Wars episodes like up in like the 7s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, ooh, should I be more thoughtful about this? But I think that they are just fucking good.
Yeah, dude.
I'm gonna give this a 7.7.
7.7.
Just so I can give it room to grow when it like nails it in the second episode.
Yeah. I'm going to give this one a 7 as well. This is a great episode. Love the characterization. Love them deepening dynamics. And then also we got some great action in there. Yeah, that brings it to a collective total of 7.35 for Star Wars The Clone Wars Downfall of a Droid, but it's still anyone's game as Aspen moves over to the Star Trek field. Aspen putting on their appropriate pads and gloves, getting ready to hop out on the field and rank Spectre of the gun.
So I did tell you, I love West.
You love
I love
West.
this all. I love the weird surrealness of this episode.
Not only that, but you texted me, and I quote, Kenny Wild West.
Yeah.
I responded, pew, pew, pew. And then you went, I immediately like this more than gangsters. I love West. Which I responded with, and I believe this, you're high on yourself.
Uh-huh.
The gangster episode is a masterpiece.
It's not.
It's a masterpiece.
It's not good.
If you are teaching a screenwriting class, go this. A Piece of the Action is the greatest script that has ever existed.
I quit.
I'm
out of here. I'm out of here. I gotta go. I gotta go. I'm gonna dig up your bones. I'm gonna curse them.
I put that curse on you.
I'm gonna give this a 7. And here's why I'm not giving it higher. I mean, 7's good. It's because I think, like I had said earlier, the thing that sustains it is its extremely cool visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if it had a little bit more oomph, like it would have been even better.
A lot of the episode, what kind of suffers from the same thing that And the Children Shall Lead suffer from, which is the audience is way ahead of the characters.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of the episode is just
waiting.
We're not the Clantons.
Right.
And they go to everyone in town to be like, we're not the Clantons. And the rule is established that the town believes that they're the Clantons.
Yeah.
So why would our extremely smart characters continue to go elsewhere to be like, actually, we're not the Clantons?
Yes.
We know that. So why not participate in something else?
It does feel a little bit like if this episode could have been 30 minutes, it would have been perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has that sort of feel. Like if more were happening in the middle of it. And the thing is that like when the stuff does happen, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like that ending is so cool. Like when there's the shot from the back where you're just seeing you're seeing them and there's the fence that's like the side of the corral, presumably. Yeah. And they're all standing there. They just start shooting at them and you don't see the bullets hit them or even go through because you're just seeing the fence and it's just like all these holes in the fence and they all just you're standing there and it's such a cool effect. It's wild. It's so cool.
The ending is outstanding. I love the ending. The beginning's interesting.
Yeah.
It's just that long middle chunk where you have real circular stuff going
because
on.
I love West and because I love the ending. And
do you really love West, or are you just looking around the room and just saying that you love West?
I love wall.
Do you really love the wall?
I love lamp. That's why I'm like, you still get a 7 from me because I like weird shit. So, yep.
I'm going to give this one a 5.9.
Wow. Okay.
Because of the reasons that I said. This episode's a little dull. Also, I docked it down 0.1 because I don't like West. I think all things in the West are usually boring as hell.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like things that are dry and dusty. Now, is that a bias that prevents me from enjoying some masterpiece things like Fury Road and Furiosa? You bet it is. It is a huge bias.
This is actually very interesting because I famously to me, love the desert.
You love Dusty?
I love Dusty. If something is set in the desert, it is very much, it has like a benefit, like it is beneficial. Like it could be bad. And I'm like, well, it was in the desert. So Like, I genuinely wonder if, I think, God, I'm like been really obsessed with the movie Nope lately. I just like could watch that movie over and over again. There's a lot of reasons why that movie's so good.
Jordan Peele,
part of it
going into hopefully his Spielberg years, because that last 40 minutes of that movie, I'm like, this is Spielberg. This ain't Jordan Peele operating in the horror realm anymore. He's operating in classic Spielberg filmmaking. The way
that horror.
Yeah.
But also, you know what the last 40 minutes is? A Western.
Spielberg, I mean, the thing that classic Spielberg is operating with is that horror notion, but he understands that horror is thrilling.
Yes, 100%.
Jurassic Park operates as a horror movie. It's just that the slasher is dinosaurs.
Jaws,
and then
a horror film.
But it's also an adventure. And also Jaws is like operating as the examination of small town politics, which is thrilling. Close Encounters of the Third Kind operating with horror rules, kind of, but then understands that central mystery, not understanding, and then you sacrifice everything in order to go see the mystery.
Kenny, it feels like you're getting off topic, which is...
Oh, right. Star Wars
Desert. Oh, no, desert. But yeah. The desert, Kenny. The desert.
That's right. The desert wins this week. Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Downfall of the Droid.
That's desert
winning
in
with
the
7.35 as opposed to Spectre of the Gun, which has a paltry 6.45, which, you know, I feel like is the correct ranking for that episode.
Yeah.
There are worse episodes. There are better episodes.
True. Very true.
This episode is OK plus.
Corral.
If you like those witticisms, why not subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/TrekWarsPod for 5 smackers a month, where you can hear early versions of our episodes and extended versions of our episodes. Aspen and I got into a little bit of Star Wars: The Acolyte and also Doctor Who at length, as well as a litany of other things. We love it. We love Shooty, and we love you patrons. Again, patreon.com/TrekWarsPod. And you too could join the fine auspices of fine folks such as Timbo Sosa, Emily Bryce Love, Heidi Rogers, Kevin Miller, Arizona Mark, Austin Aaron, and lastly, but certainly not leastly, Joel T. Partner, who was the composer of this theme song, the theme song being I Starship It. Our main theme was composed by Mr. Tosin Awofeso, which if you would like to hear more of his music, please visit the link down in the show notes below. Additionally, if you would like to see us react to things, go down to the show notes and hop over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/hopefully TrekWarsPod, whenever we get a higher subscriber base.
I tried to stay like more in my seat this time to be a more visually appealing person.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Last piece of business. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Rob Coleman directed the episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and Rob Coleman was the animation director of the prequel trilogy and also helped establish the Lucasfilm animation.
Wow.
That's pretty interesting. And also what was interesting is that he was not in the behind the scenes of the Filoni Zone. I'm just interested. I want to know more of how Star Wars: The Clone Wars works. Anything else before we call it a night, Aspen?
No, I love you.
And I love you, Aspen, and we love you, audience. Thank you so much for listening to us and watching us. May the Force be with you, and live long and prosper.